These stylish earbuds are actually over-the-counter hearing aids. Let's check them out. Dave Taylor here, and I want to talk about hearing. Did you know that 1.5 billion people around the world suffer some level of hearing loss? Many of them have prescription or over-the-counter hearing aids, but less than 20% actually use them. A lot of times it's because they just look really ugly and they feel stigmatized, or they're complicated, or they aren't really fitted well for their particular hearing. This is all the past of hearing aids. The modern world of hearing aids is all about over-the-counter solutions that totally change the game. They are less expensive, far more flexible and powerful, and offer all sorts of smart features like these. This, let me show you, it's closed and then open. This is the Cearvol Wave Lite over-the-counter hearing aid. And I'm not kidding, that's a hearing aid. It's that small and that simple. So these actually are Bluetooth, so you can listen to music, you can listen to TV, and here's one crazy feature. On the back, there's a 3.5 millimeter input jack, so you can use the case as a transmitter, so you could plug this directly into a TV or a computer, and then you'll be able to hear crystal clear what audio that's producing without having to worry about all the ambient sound around you. Really, really neat idea. In terms of specs, let me give you some specs while I show you some photos. These feature 24 channels and have a gain of 35 to 40 decibels, sound pressure level of less than 109 decibels, and a total harmonic distortion of less than 3%. All of those numbers are really important because it means it's giving you a really nice boost on vocal range frequencies on what you're hearing. So when I put these in, I don't generally need hearing aids, but I put these in and suddenly all of the world around me gets just a little bit easier to hear, and it's disconcerting. All of a sudden it's like, oh, that's my clock ticking. I didn't realize I could hear that because generally speaking, I either don't or have tuned it out. But these bring all of that into like really tight focus. So very interesting. They are IPX5 water resistant. So if you want to wear them at the gym and you're a little sweaty, it's okay. It's not going to mess them up. They have 4 directional microphones because they also let you talk because they're Bluetooth devices. So I'll give you a demo of that in just a minute. But the coolest thing about these probably is that they are AI enhanced. So there's actually chips and software running on these tiny devices. And it actually helps with the audio clarity around you. And it helps with canceling out the noises that aren't important. Now, of course, that kind of goes against the entire intent of hearing aids, which is to give everything a little bit more volume so you can hear everything better. But, they work on that, and there's some settings in the companion app, and I'll show you that too, but there's some settings that let you fine-tune what that experience is like. What I really like is that it's just a really comfortable and stylish design. I'm going to go ahead and put this in my ear, and now I'm getting a really strong additional treble and sort of voice frequencies, so it's a little disconcerting, but that's doing its job. So it's very discreet. It really is not anything like those big, clumsy old hearing aids that grandma might be wearing. You don't want something like that, and you don't want a wire and a box in your pocket if you can possibly help it. These sidestep all of that. Very slick. Now, one of the things that's important, let me pull it out, is that you get the right ear tip and the right size ear tip. So if we peek in the box, there are a lot of ear tips in here, and there is also a USB-A to USB-C charging cable for the unit, and a 3.5 millimeter to 3.5 millimeter AUX plug, so you can use these with the case as the transmitter and the earbuds as the receiver if you're going to plug it into a computer or into a television. Or one of the fun things is you can do that in an in-flight, right? So if you're on a plane and it has a 3.5 millimeter jack, you could plug the case into the jack and then hear whatever you're watching on that entertainment device much, much better. Really, lots of smart design here. Bluetooth-wise, it's Bluetooth 5.3, which also supports music streaming. And I'm going to be candid, it's not designed to give you a great music experience because for music, we have a whole range of frequencies going from very low to very high. And of course, all these instruments in addition to the human voice, but this is really focused on that subset of frequencies that are human voices. So it's not the same as having really nice headphones, but if you have hearing loss, this is still a bit of a game changer, and it's still going to be something where you're like, oh, I can hear everything around me all better. And you'll be able to hear parts of the music better. You might be able to finally understand the lyrics, at which point you will then say to your grandchildren, honey, I don't think that's appropriate for a 9-year-old to give them what they're singing about. But that is a whole nother subject. We can do a whole video just on that. With the AUX plugging in, that actually gives you a remarkable 3 millisecond latency. And where that's really important is you plug it into your TV, you're watching someone talking on screen, and the audio will be in sync with them talking. And that's so important because if you have a big latency, then you're going to get this very disconcerting experience, which you've probably had, which is where what they're saying doesn't line up with what their mouth is moving and the sort of gestures that they're making. Not pleasant. That's not what you want. So pretty much that's all the specs. I will say that with the case recharges and everything, and every time you put it in, it's charging, you can get 22 hours of power. And if you put it in for 15 minutes, then the earbuds themselves will give you an additional 3 hours. Again, you can wear them all day. They're super comfortable, but you don't necessarily want to. But now, with all of those specs out of the way, let's have some fun with a couple of demos. So first, I'm going to demonstrate the audio recording so we can understand how the microphones give us audio. So let me switch things around and get things set up. Now what you're hearing is my voice as picked up by the Cearvol Lite OTC hearing aids. And it's a little softer than my regular microphone, which I have clipped here. But you can imagine if you're on a phone call or something, this is going to work perfectly well. And what I see on my phone, this is an iPhone, is I see a little wave frequency because I'm in the voice recorder, but you don't have to be in that. You can be on a phone call, you can be on Skype or FaceTime, you can be on Zoom or FaceTime, and it will automatically, because it's paired via Bluetooth, it will automatically switch to using these for pickup. So very nice. Now, what I'd like to do is I'd like to switch things around one more time and give you a demo of the app. It's a pretty straightforward app, not a huge amount of functionality, but it doesn't need a lot of functionality. Anyway, let me switch things around. I'm in the Cearvol app right now, and as you can see, it's pretty straightforward. It's showing me the charge level of both the left and right is at 100%, and it's super easy for me to increase the volume by just tapping on the volume. And that gives me higher gains, so everything gets louder and louder. I definitely do not need that at that level. I can also tap on that little icon and I can change it so it's not synchronized. So that might be something where, for example, my left ear has more hearing loss than my right ear. And I should say that these are really ideal for mild to moderate hearing loss. If you have severe hearing loss, you really need to work with an audiologist because you have a sort of special case there, and these are not designed for that. But for mild to moderate hearing loss, which an enormous number of people have, this is a game changer. Okay, so now we also have scene mode, and it's currently indoor, but as you can see, there are 4 different options. So I can change this to conversation, and that's going to change the environmental noise canceling. It's going to change the way that it's trying to give me good clarity. And I'll go ahead and just save that. And it literally just gave me feedback of conversation mode. And I can hear it's a different setting. And then ambient aware is interesting. If I tap on that to disable it, it explains that what this does is it tends to remove all of the environmental noise so you can focus on the main audio. And that's especially useful if you're using this in the AUX mode. So I'm not going to actually change that. And then another big feature is that you can run, and you should run, a hearing test. And it actually has the ability to give you like different frequencies, and you tap when you hear it at different volumes. And then it builds a profile of your explicit and distinct hearing on both of your ears. And then it applies that automatically to its own settings, which is a game changer. This is so powerful. And this is the kind of stuff that an audiologist would charge you, honestly, a couple of $1,000s for. And it's just built into the app. So really nice. If you're going to do this, you really want to be in the quietest possible environment. So think through where you're going to be before you start. And then if we go to My Profile, then you can see that there's a bunch of different features here, including own voice reduction, which is kind of interesting. And there's a little bit of training. What it wants to do is it wants to understand the frequencies of your voice, and then it will lower your voice down a little bit so that you can hear the other person you're talking to more easily. Pretty smart idea. You can also get into some other things here and change your name, but that's pretty much everything. It's really simple to work with this app, and I think that this is the game changer that, grandma's hearing aid from 20 years ago doesn't have any of this. And by the by, I can also just switch into my music, and I could listen to my favorite big band music or classical or whatever via Bluetooth directly to these. So I don't have to switch to something else because I want to listen to music. So that's the end of this demo. Let me again switch things around, and I'll just give you a little bit of a wrap up on this. There's not much more to talk about with this. It does one task, and it does it really well, and that's enhance the environment around you so you can hear what's going on and you can hear better. And instead of constantly saying, "Excuse me," or just simply ignoring people and smiling because you just can't hear conversations around you or something, this is a game changer, and it's small and modest and discreet. And if anything, people will be like, "Oh, those are interesting earbuds. What are those all about?" And you don't ever have to have someone being, "Are you wearing hearing aids? Are you really getting that old?" And again, I think that stigma is kind of silly because we all have our, strengths and our weaknesses. And the fact that we have technology to help us out is just fantastic. It's just like modern medicine. You don't have to have medicine from the 1500s because anything modern is bad. It's like silly. I mean, we live in an era where we have all of these things and all of these options, and things like this type of hearing aid with all of this smart technology is over the counter. You don't have to go to a doctor. You don't have to go to an audiologist. You don't have to have an expert help you figure out how to get them to fit in your ears. It's all really easy. And there's just so much to like here. It's just a simple, easy to understand, and easy to get started packaging. Even comes with a nice quick start guide that literally tells you everything you need to do to be able to get up and running quickly. And if you have further questions, it also comes with a much longer instruction manual that really is pretty comprehensive. It has a lot of information. And of course, the app itself, as you saw, has a help area. So there's FAQs. Their company is doing everything they can to help. Now, having said all of that, one of the big challenges with hearing aids is what they call whistling, which is a kind of feedback. And they have circuitry to minimize that, but I did notice when I went to take them out, I did frequently have just a second or two of that sort of high-pitched sort of wee sound. I know, not the greatest of imitations, but if you are familiar with hearing aids, you know what I'm talking about. So that's a little unpleasant, but that's something where it's not a big deal. It's literally like, I'm hearing it, I'm not hearing it. So, they haven't quite nailed that, which is super hard because it's just, while it's trying to enhance all of the noise and all of the environmental sounds around you, it can't help but be aware that like its space with its microphone is getting smaller as your hand is getting closer. So, if you can get 2 hours of really great hearing while you're at a party, followed by a literally quarter of a second of this sound when you're taking it out, I think it's a pretty good trade-off. But other than that, I have no criticisms at all, and I really like the fabric case. I know that's just a little aesthetic thing, but it just makes it just a little bit more smart and stylish. So props to them. There's really a lot to like here. And if you are experiencing some level of hearing loss, and you might not even be aware, just think about, are you able to hear everything around you in the way that you'd like to? Or are you feeling like, oh, I remember when I was a kid, I could hear everything. I could hear people talking across the room or in a different room. And now I need someone right in front of me to be able to hear them. Well, maybe something like this could be a game changer for you. So that's what I got. I really encourage you to check out some sort of hearing aid if you're experiencing some sort of hearing loss. Now, we do need to talk about the price. Before we get there, I'm going to ask you to go ahead and click or tap on that subscribe button to subscribe to my YouTube channel. And then while you're at it, hit that bell icon so you get notifications of my new content. I will always give you the straight scoop and the honest scoop. If this was of value, I certainly appreciate if you can give me a thumbs up too. Excellent. All right. This is the Cearvol Lite OTC hearing aid, and it comes in black or gray gold, and it is $399. This is an absolute game changer. If you're experiencing mild to moderate hearing loss, this will be an absolute revelation for you, I promise. Maybe I won't promise, but I will tell you that this can be really a game changer. So that's what I got. I hope this was of value, and I will hope to be able to catch you in my next video.